Today we're in Salt Lake City, Utah, visiting Jessica Archibald's remarkable historic home that each fall transforms into something straight out of a storybook. Lovingly known as the Pumpkin House, this 1900s home is listed on the National Historic Register. It's covered in almost 250 pumpkins, carefully placed across its porch, railings, and garden. Inside, every detail tells a tale, like these stained glass windows that cast rainbows through every room. Original hardwood floors and intricate woodwork blend seamlessly with carefully chosen antiques, each piece echoing the home's past, like a European fireplace mantel that fits like it was meant to be here all along. In the kitchen, antique copper accents meet a centuries-old butcher block island, adding warmth and history to a space rebuilt from scratch. Meanwhile, hand-painted wallpaper and original wood trim bring timeless charm to even the smallest bathroom. But what really makes this home come alive is its vibrant fall tradition, one that draws the entire community together. Outside, a towering pumpkin display transforms the house into the beloved pumpkin house, while inside, the warm, earthy decor creates a cozy, witchy atmosphere that's perfect for the season. To watch Jessica's full episode ad-free, scan the QR code or click the join button below. This fall, Homeworthy is all about the season's magic. We're stepping inside homes transformed by autumn's colors, where pumpkins aren't just decorations, they're statements.
We went to the auction in Pennsylvania and brought 4,000 pumpkins back, and I have them all on my stoop, and the neighbor's stoop, and the other's neighbor's stoop, and the other neighbor's stoop, and my backyard.
Where shadows and candlelight mingle to create a hint of spookiness, and every corner tells a story.
And so the theme of this was friends are coming over for a nice dinner. It clearly turned into a bit of a bloodbath. We have some candles and some transitional pieces throughout. There's like teeth and guts.
From extraordinary Halloween displays to cozy gatherings at home, we'll explore spaces that feel both enchanting and inviting.
For the tablescape today, I really wanted to capture all these deep sort of jewel tones for fall. These gorgeous reds and deep purples. They really are rich and inviting.
Plus, in the kitchen, we're celebrating the flavors of the season with dishes that bring warmth, comfort, and a touch of whimsy to the table.
Remember that fall isn't just about the foliage changing, but it's about the mood changing even in the house. And that has to do even with what you're cooking, right? So today we're going to make a really moist, fabulous apple cake.
So light the candles and enjoy our autumnal series, because nothing says home like a little spook and a lot of heart. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, my name is Jessica. Welcome to my historic home in Salt Lake City. Come on in. My name is Jessica Archibald. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I taught elementary school for 8 years. I taught 3rd grade. And when we were lucky enough to have our daughter, I decided to stay home with her. So I have a 5-year-old, and I am a holiday content creator also. We are in our historical 1909 home. It is in downtown Salt Lake in their historic district. We bought this house 5 years ago. It was in really bad shape, and we wanted to take on the challenge and bring her back to life. She's a really, really special house. And we have spent the last 5 years restoring this home. It's on the National Historic Registry of Interiors, and it's classified as a neoclassical foursquare. Our fall and Halloween has kind of taken our community by storm. It's so fun. So we call it the Pumpkin House, and we've been doing this for 3-ish years. 1 year was like a lot smaller, and then we've kind of gotten bigger to get to this point. But the story behind the Pumpkin House is my parents were very holiday magical people. Like, we had the family costumes. My mom decorated like the cute crafts for Halloween. We made the Halloween sugar cookies. Like, we had a really quintessential nostalgic childhood around holidays because my parents were just so sweet about stuff like that. And my brother really likes Halloween. He started doing these pumpkins on my parents' house like years ago. And he got a job, and it was so cool. So he's kind of started the whole pumpkin house thing, and he got a job in New York City. And my parents were like, we're not gonna do this without him. And I was like, I will take on the family legacy of the pumpkin house. So I got all those pumpkins, joined them with my collection. We kind of did a little bit different on this house because of the way it's laid out. And that's kind of where the pumpkin house began. It started with my parents, it started with my brother. And then when he wasn't able to do it anymore, I took on the fun house covered in pumpkins, and it is so fun. We get probably, we were trying to estimate the other day, we probably get 250 visitors a day who are here from morning to night, just like visiting the house and asking a million questions, and it's so fun. So the outside is the pumpkin house. And then inside I have more of an organic, earthy, it's not spooky, it's not haunted, it's a very like witchy aesthetic, but not super Halloween and spooky. It's very organic feeling. So this year I built an apothecary in my entryway, and then you've got like all the fall leaves behind me on the mantel place, and like just classic pumpkins everywhere. So it's a little bit of a different vibe on the inside versus like the classic jack-o'-lantern that's outside, but it's fun. Our community is so fun. They make it fun. They love it. Every year when we're setting up, like this year we had a crowd watching us set up when we were climbing the ladder to the very highest point, because our house is 4 stories high while also being raised a full story off of the sidewalk. So when you like come to the house in person and you see the house in person, it is very tall. And we have the pumpkins layered all the way up. So when we were on that highest one, when my husband was doing that, we had a full crowd in the grass below watching us. He like got them up there and they cheered. It's just this like fun thing. So it's a joy to see all the people come and visit and to like bring something special with the house and also like the holidays to the neighborhood. Now we're on the front porch. This front porch is so quintessential and special and feels just amazing. It's got these huge columns. It has a very large presence, this porch does. So we actually restored it a couple summers ago and repainted it and all the things. We took paint swatches from the original paint and had it matched so that it felt very similar to what it would have been. But the exterior has gone under some serious restoration. It was in rough shape when we gained ownership of this home. So we've done our best to really restore it. These pillars were in crumbling mess. The ceiling of the porch was a crumbling mess. The sandstone foundation, which when you get a further look back, it was painted bright red, like a fire engine red. The brightest red you can imagine, and it was shiny. So the very first thing we did was have that professionally sandblasted off, and also this like gorgeous yellow brick. After all those hundreds of years, it had turned very gray. So the house had like a gray, dingy feeling to it, and we hired a restoration company here in Salt Lake, and they did an acid wash on the brick, and now it's this like gorgeous yellow. It was always gorgeous yellow, but restoring the brick and restoring the foundation was really important to me, and just getting these like colors repainted and having all the wood patch and stuff. But yes, all these windows are wavy and original, and the stairs are steep, and it's just like a really grand porch. And we love to sit out here on our rocking chairs. So this is the pumpkin house. It's so fun. But if you look at the very top pitch of the house, that was also painted bright red. So imagine this just very red sandstone, very red top pitch, and then very dingy yellow brick. And now she just looks very clean and sparkly and lovely. We actually put in all these flower beds as well, and built a garden in the front yard that we'll show you, and put in the retaining wall for the yard. So the house was on a very steep slope and the yard wasn't really usable. So we built it out and built this really long 100-foot long retaining wall. We actually did that ourselves. My husband is quite the mathematician, and it's kind of amazing, this retaining wall, so that we had a usable front yard because the house doesn't actually have a backyard. So this was all we had as far as like a play space and a private yard. So yeah, here she is in all her glory. The pumpkins are a mix of real and faux. Obviously these are all real. And a local farm is so kind and lets us come pick pumpkins from their farm. And then moving along, you can see all the faux ones on the railing here and down here. All the ones on the house are faux. But the fun thing about them is they're actually hand carved. So we have hand carved these for a few years. Again, like I said, my brother had started his collection of hand carved pumpkins, and then we just added to it. But they all have a different face. All of them have a unique different face. And we all like come out here at night when the lights turn on and we pick our favorite face, and it is so fun. But they're hand carved and they're foam, so we do reuse them year after year, but I like to put them in different spots every year so that it's not ever really the same. So the mixture of the real pumpkins and the faux pumpkins just is fun. It confuses people. They're really good faux pumpkins, and because they're hand carved, I would say majority of people assume that they're real. So it's fun. It's a fun trick on your eyes on if they are real or not. We have counted. There are 248 pumpkins exactly, including all the real ones. And there's sneaky little teeny tiny ones above the door that are my favorite, actually. So those ones count as well. But there's 248 this year. Okay, my favorite addition to the house, the pumpkin house this year, was our pumpkin archway. So I went to a fall festival, and it was at a farm, and they had grown pumpkins over their arch to create like a pumpkin tunnel. And I was like, we are doing that. We did not have a garden here prior. So this spring, my husband actually built all these garden beds. We ripped the yard out. We put in like this little gorgeous walkway. It was just grass. It was just like a green belt. But now we have a little pumpkin arch, and it's so cool. So there's 3 arches, and there are pumpkins growing over all the arches. So we've got some here, we've got another one here, and a little guy here. And then I've grown flowers along the side of it. And then we've actually been using it as obviously our garden. So we've harvested watermelon, cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, herbs, lots of zucchini, carrots. We had carrots too. And then of course the stars of the show are the pumpkin. And I feel like this has been people's most favorite this year, is like coming and walking through this, because it's kind of magical to walk through. And then here's a few more of the pumpkins that have grown. These ones got so big that they couldn't stay. They were breaking off from the arches because they were so big. So they get their own special spot in the garden. But like, look at this giant pumpkin that's just hanging in the archway. It's so cool. So that's been my favorite thing so far. So a cute little thing that my daughter has been obsessed with is fairies and fairy gardens. So we had to have a pumpkin patch for our fairies at the pumpkin house. So we've got a cute little pumpkin patch and all the like fall festival things, and mushroom houses and witch houses and tractors, and you know, all the things that fairies need at the pumpkin house. And she comes out here and plays with it all the time. And her fairies love the pumpkin patch. This is the entryway of the home, and it is traditional in these types of homes to have very grand entryways. So that's what we've got here. When we purchased this house, it had green shag carpet all the way up the stairs, and then it transitioned into a bright orange shag carpet, so it's so cute. But this is the original banister in woodwork, and it had been painted originally, so we kept that going. And then we actually added this molding that you see behind the stairs. We added that ourselves, and the craftsmanship was really important to us, that we like replicate the same details that were the original details of this hand-carved beautiful staircase into the wainscoting behind me. So we used the classic egg and dart, the big grand piece on the top, and then the smaller inset pieces in the wainscoting. And then this very jewel tone green that went with our wallpaper. I had my eye on this wallpaper for a long time, and we did the trim work around it as well. And this wallpaper just screamed everything that this room wanted. So this room didn't actually have a lot of trim work or anything. We've added all of that ourselves. And then the gorgeous front door is original. All of the stained glass surround and the glass front door and all of this hardware is all the original hardware to the home. And this was a doorway that led to the basement, actually. We closed that off because we didn't want access to the basement, but that was a doorway that went under the stairs and was a stairway into the basement. So yeah, this gorgeous hand-carved stairwell is one of my favorites. And then this is just my own creation of an apothecary, a fun little witchy Halloween moment. And this gorgeous antique piece is English pine, and I found it after years of searching for like just the right piece, and it kind of fits the story of the home. So that is the entryway, and we've got the big gorgeous header. There's actually pocket doors that should be here. They were taken from the home originally, and we never found them, and so I've actually left the track and the holes in the walls as a manifestation that we'll find the right doors that fit someday, but that's just a dream. This is the living room. And again, we have this like gorgeous original woodwork, the gorgeous leaded windows as the transoms up above. As I mentioned earlier, these windows were boarded up because the 60s, they love to board, they love to cover things up. So they actually had massive mirrors on top of them. The original fireplace had been removed. I don't know, I could never find pictures of it. The historical society that I worked with, they did not have photos of the original fireplace either. So I did my best. This is a European, I found it at a European antique store. It was a man who had purchased it out of a home and had brought it back to the US. It is a couple hundred years old. It was from Austria, I wanna say he said it's from Austria, but it has that beautiful Egendart, the same Egendart that's throughout the house at the crown of it. So it felt like something that would have been here originally, even though it's actually not the original piece. And it just luckily fit pretty well. We had to cut a couple inches off the bottom, but it fit, and it just felt like it was meant to be that I was able to find that and get this in the home. And then this is the original tile work also. So when we pulled the 70s fireplace stove off, we found this original tile and the original firebox, but none of the original like mantel pieces. So we've got the firebox and this tile, and you can tell it's in rough shape. It's had a long life, but it has that dark green color to it. And that was actually where I took my inspiration for the jewel tone color of the walls. In like a classic Victorian Edwardian phase of a home, they would have very intense, rich colored jewel tones. So that was kind of the inspiration for that flow. And then we got the fireplace going. And then I have little antiques here and there. This is a English pine coffee table that I restored and found in an antique store and spent time restoring. And it is just gorgeous. And I get a lot of questions on the white trim choice. So all the trim had always been painted. And that's one of the biggest questions I get is why we painted it white. And something that's interesting is we had every move that we made in this house approved by the National Historic Society because we wanted to honor this home and have on the National Historic Register of Interiors, which it is. And that is like a huge honor of my life. But we painted it white because traditionally these homes would have white trim to show their wealth. It was so hard to keep white trim clean that it was like a sign of wealth. But that's the decision on those paint colors. And these windows that we opened up were just like the best part of this whole place. And then it kind of just flows straight into the dining area. This is the window that I talked about that like really sold me on this house. This is why I wanted this house so bad, is this window. So these trees that are outside the house are the age of the house. They are so old. They are as tall as the home. They are massive. And when you sit here, it feels like you're in a tree house. We live in the downtown of a city and the main road is right there, but these trees bring like magic to the home. So the sun hits, this is like the picture it paints for you. The sun sets right here in the west, shines in through this leaded, bursts rainbows all over the house, and the trees dance in the wind and the sun, and it is so special that it was worth 3 years of renovation and our literal sanity for this right here. So it has this on the exterior too, the brick does have like the rounded edge, and it is just gorgeous architecture. So all the original trim work, these are actually the original windows also. They're pretty wavy, you can tell all the hardware on them is original. So I love, like this curved baseboard, it curves with the wall. And when you like get down close to the craftsmanship of that, to get hardwoods to curve like that, it is stunning, and they just don't make them like that anymore. Something that's unique about this space is when we bought the home, this French door set, they had actually, in the 60s, they had actually closed that doorway. So it originally was like a double pocket door situation, and similar to how the entryway is. And they had closed that in to make it a single door. But we could tell from the trim work, they had left the trim work but just closed it in. It was interesting. We could tell that it had been an original double doorway, so we opened that up. And we couldn't find the originals to that, so we had custom ones done, and we made sure that we added that transom, but like we found the header and all the door casings and stuff in the attic. So we did reopen that back up to its bigger space. So this chandelier was like my luckiest find. I'm a stealth on Facebook Marketplace, and I already had the big chandelier. That was something that my brother had found for me. And when I found the match on Facebook Marketplace, it was, again, this house has serious like fate happening in it. And so they match and they mirror each other, and they're super gorgeous. So my brother was actually, he worked for Restoration Hardware. So he had purchased this for me years ago when he worked there. And then this is a really special little spot right here. So when we got married at our wedding, we actually served our plated dinner, our like wedding dinner, on our grandmother's china. So all 4 of our grandmas, we gathered all their china and had all these mismatched settings of their china. And it was really special because we have like just the sweetest grandmas on earth. And so this is some of that china. So my husband Steven's grandma, this was her china pattern. And so our wedding dinner was served on this. And it's also just like a reminiscent of her, and it's beautiful in pink and green. So obviously I love it. But that's that cute little moment right there, is our grandma's china that our wedding dinner was served on. And then our gallery wall, which is a mix of vintage and thrifted and all the things. And this gorgeous piece is styled for Halloween. I wanted to have like a little classic Halloween moment for my daughter. The other stuff is so gorgeous, but it's definitely more of like a grown-up vibe, and she needed like some ghosts and pumpkins, you know? So I've got this gorgeous piece that is quite old. There was also a Facebook Marketplace find, and she arranges the ghosts and the pumpkins and all the things all day long, and it's very adorable and feels very like nostalgic and classic for her. What do I love most about my home? The stained glass windows are my favorite thing about the home. And my second favorite thing is the creaky hardwood floors. There is something like so cozy about a squeaky floor, because it has like had so much life lived. I don't know. I love the squeaky floors. The stairs are so loud. And yes, we could fix them. There are things we could do, but I chose to leave them squeaky because it sounds so cozy to me. I don't know, I love it. And I also love the craftsmanship of it. I feel like it's really hard to find a craftsmanship that looks like this nowadays in a home. It's hard to recreate that. And with like all the hand-carved moldings and trim work in this house, I feel like it just tells the story of the craftsmanship that was done here 100+ years ago, and the pride that people had in their work. The architect who actually built this home In 1909, he was a very famous architect in Salt Lake, and he has built, there's a very famous cathedral called the Cathedral of the Madeleine, and he built that. And there's a few others in the area that have the same classic yellow brick with the sandstone foundation, and they look like sister homes. Like, you can tell that they were by the same creator, and it's really fun to see that. And just kind of imagine like what they would have been. These would have been mansions in 1909, and what Old Salt Lake would have looked like, and to see that like architecture play itself out throughout the city. But inside the home, the stained glass windows and the craftsmanship and the hardwood floors is what really stole my heart, and still does. The kitchen was definitely the most work. It was in rough shape. It had been totally redone in the 60s, so there was not a single original element in this kitchen. And also, we needed our kitchen to be very functional, high functioning, high working kitchen. It's quite a small space, but we did the best we could with the space that we had to make it as functional as possible. But this is my favorite piece in the kitchen. This is an antique butcher block from France. It is lots and lots of years old, and people always comment on why it's warped. They're like, why do you have a warped piece of furniture in your kitchen? This is warped from use. So if you find a true butcher block, it will be warped from years and years of use. So this is like my island. There was not room for an island. And so when I found this, it just was like the perfect teeny little moment, but it has the most gorgeous like hand carved features to it. And this is my favorite little guy. This big picture window is so lovely, but the way the kitchen was laid out before was super wonky, so we did our best. The ceiling had been dropped. We did our best to make it as functional and useful and best use of space that we could. This doorway actually goes to the back staircase. So again, in these traditional mansion homes in 1909, they would have had their grand entryway for themselves and then a back staircase for workers and deliveries and all of those things. So this is actually where the back staircase goes, and it leads clear from the basement to the very attic. So it is a long, skinny, windy, rickety little staircase, but that's what's behind that door. So yeah, this kitchen, we had to gut to the studs. Not an original thing in sight, but I did my best with all my like antique copper, which is like behind the stove here and on my shelves here, to make it feel like it fit the home, especially with the colors we've got going on in here too. So it's got some color behind it, the yellow doors and the green blue tile, mixed in with all the copper and brass, kind of helped bring that classic historical vibe to it a little bit. But yes, we love this butcher block. It is so beautiful. So this door, they had taken the original door out. This original door was not here, and this is one of the ones that we found. And they had put in like a teeny little short door. So when we knew we wanted it back, we put it back in with the transom. We had to have the transom made because the original transom was not there. And I dream of finding a perfect stained glass that fits it and matches with the rest of the house, but until then, that is a stick-on to give the same feel throughout the house. I actually put those leaded lines myself because I wanted it to flow, but someday I'm gonna find the perfect stained glass window for that transom. This is the bathroom on the main floor. There's only one bathroom down here. That's the joy of historical homes. No closets, no bathrooms. But this bathroom is one of my favorite little moments. So it is the teeniest little room in the house, and it was even teenier the way that they had it before. So visualize, this was a full vanity. The toilet was here. The shower was here, and right here was a urinal. So cute. So immediately that was all gone. They had covered this window up. This was another one of the boarded up windows. But again, I could see from the exterior of the house that there was the brickwork for a window. So we opened that up right away. We put in a big, lovely full-size shower, and then we've got like the pedestal sink. But This room was seriously so crazy. The ceiling had been dropped. My husband's like 6 feet tall. His head was nearly to the top, so the ceiling had been totally dropped. And the way it was laid out, you could turn in a circle and that was it. And you could touch every single thing in the room. So they'd even made the doorway teeny. There was nothing original in here. That had all been done in the 60s. So we gutted this whole thing and we got to have some fun with the wallpaper. I love the wallpaper. And of course, my dramatic swan faucet and just the styling of this room. This wallpaper brings me an immense amount of joy. So this is our teeny little bathroom on the main floor. The restoration was crazy. We're very passionate about restoration versus renovation. So when we purchased this home, it needed a lot of restoration work. So to get the walls even looking nice, it took us 3 months of hand scraping 7 layers of wallpaper off the walls and then replastering. All the walls are the original lath and plaster. So every wall in the house had 7 layers of wallpaper back to the original 1909 wallpaper. And after that many years, the walls were wonky and so sad. So we hand scraped it all off, replastered all the walls and got them looking good. So that took 3 months to even just get the walls looking good. The plumbing and electrical was all very unsafe and out of date. So we redid all of that also, as long as like sewer lines and all that finish work that is nothing to do with how the house looks and everything to do with like the structure and the safety and the longevity of the home. That was what was most important to us, was the longevity of this home. It was built in 1909, so is that 116 years old? So we wanted it to restore it to a place where it could last another 116 years. So it took us 2 years. We did everything ourselves, but we were lucky enough that most of the original architecture was still here. It had not gone through too many owners in its life, and so many of the original features were still here, so we just had to come in and restore a lot of the basics. But the original staircase and banister, the original hardwood floors, there's stained glass windows all throughout the house as transoms. Those are all the originals. So much of the hardware and all the doors were original. We were actually deep in renovation, or deep in like the deep in the demo phase of things. We were in the attic. There was an unfinished attic, and we found all the missing pieces that had been taken out over the years. So all the doors have these gorgeous headers on top of them. And in the 60s, they liked to remove a lot of those things and drop the ceilings and stuff, but they saved them all in the attic. So it was like a treasure hunt. We found all the original doors that were missing, all the original headers, the baseboards, the window casings. So that was like the most special part of the restoration, was being able to put all the original things back in. We didn't have to replicate very many things. A couple of the windows had been boarded up because, again, its biggest renovation had been done in the 60s, and they like to close things in. So they had dropped a lot of ceilings, boarded up windows. These 2 windows behind me were actually boarded up, but I could tell from the outside of the house that there were windows there. So that was the best day ever, is when we unboarded those and brought those back. But so much of this house had its original bones, and that is what made us like really fall in love with it. There's this gorgeous bay window that is in all the levels of the house, and the stained glass. And the first time we walked in, I was like, this is our home. But we also knew that it was going to be a really, really intense thing, and we were slightly new at the historic DIY stuff. And we knew it was a little bit out of our realm, so we actually passed on it the first time we walked through. We were so in over our head with what this house needed, because it's nearly 5,000 square feet. And it haunted me. The stained glass windows, they haunted me. They cast rainbows every afternoon on all the walls, and I was like, I have to have that house. I will do anything. By the time we made that decision, it had gone under contract. And luckily, the people who had gone under contract with got spooked. They got a bid back from a contractor, and they were spooked, and they were like, we can't do this. So we were like, we can do it. We were crazy. We're crazy. And we took it on, and it has been the most enjoyable, rewarding, insane thing of our lives. But now that the house is done, it is the coolest thing to be in this community, and all the people who are out for walks who are like, thank you for saving that home. The exterior was in pretty bad shape as well. So just like the last 5 years, everyone who walks by who has lived in this neighborhood a long time in the historical homes, they are like, thank you for saving this house. Thank you for breathing life back into her. And it has been the coolest experience. I feel like with a house that's old like this, that's historic, it's lived a lot of lives. This is not my home. This home belongs to like all the people who have lived here. So it feels cool to be a part of its story and saving it versus like us creating this home, if that makes sense. We feel like we're lucky to be a part of this house's story. So coming up this staircase, like I said, these had green shag carpet, and then at the top is where it transitioned to orange shag carpet. It was so lovely. But this is the landing of the hallway, the stairs. So we've got this like gorgeous long hallway that is all the doors to all the bedrooms and bathrooms bounce off of that. But this little landing here is so pretty. So this is our primary bedroom. It was a unique choice trying to figure out what the primary room should be in this upstairs. This actually had a double bedroom. So I'll show you the part that was the double bedroom in a second, but it would originally been a nursery. So that would have, like, they did the double bedrooms for like a little nursery along with the parent bedroom. So this is our primary. It's got this gorgeous bay window, which we lived in San Francisco for a couple years. So my heart just like loves a bay window. So we've got our lovely bay window again with our stained glass windows, and you can see the pumpkins out the window. It's very exciting. And this room actually, this fireplace is the chimney from downstairs, the main fireplace. And it was covered in plaster. And of course, I just had to dig a little bit when we were doing our restoration. So I dug all the plaster off. And now we've got this like gorgeous little chimney moment going on behind the bed. But that is the primary. It is tiny and cozy and lovely. So this is Kitty. She's 12 years old, and this is where she lives all day long, is on our bed, all cozy. So we've had her nearly our whole marriage, and she's just a sweet little gal. But yes, I love the bedding. It's Ralph Lauren. It's very, I love a white bedroom because it feels like clean and cozy, but I also love color. I love a saturated color. So that's why we went with like the purple drapes with the 4-poster and the deep purple floral. So this was actually the second little bedroom, is now our bathroom. So it was just a teeny little bedroom. The shower was the closet. So that had a door on it, and that was the closet for the room. So we kept that original wood casing because that kind of felt fun for a shower. And then obviously the bathtub in the matching bay window is the star of the show. This is Birdie. This is our other kitty. She's just having a nap in the sun. She's very fluffy. She's not overweight. She just has 25 pounds of fur. And she's so cute. But yes, the bathtub with the coffee and the bay window with the wood trim work is just everything. And then I've got this like beautiful antique piece. Again, storage in historical homes is the trickiest thing about the home. So I've got lots of antique storage pieces around for all the things here, and then the vanity and stuff. And it was traditional to do a tile inlay. So they're called tile rugs. So that's this little moment right here is our tile rug or our tile inlay that's like reminiscent of like where a rug would be. So that's the choice behind that. And then it matches the shower also. We only did what had previously been done. There's not a single piece of wood trim that we painted. If it had already been painted, it stayed painted. mostly because we don't have a crew to help us strip layers and layers and layers of paint off of wood, and for health reasons and all the things. And it is historically accurate. So anything that was painted stayed painted. Anything that was wood stayed wood. That's one of the reasons why this bathroom feels so special too, is because it is that like crisp wood trim. And I also built this vanity to match it because I wanted it to feel like a piece of furniture more than like a classic vanity. And the wood tones are similar. So we've got like the antique piece here in the corner, the vanity, all the wood trim. It has that very cozy wood feel to it. So that's the reasoning behind that, is just this was never painted, and I would never paint something that is still the original. So that's the same with the whole hallway. So if you come out into the hallway, home is the safety of everything. Home is where you can escape from all the things and have that like cozy, comfortable, safe feeling. We had a rough couple personal years, and that's why we turned everything. That's why we worked so hard on our home, is because it felt like the only safe place from all of that grief that we were feeling through that decade, and kind of why I've channeled so much into my home is because it was my escape. It was my escape from the reality of the hard things we had in our life at that time. And it has since become like a passion and a skill that I have improved, and something that I would love to create for other people also. So for me, home is my sanctuary and my escape and my creative outlet. It's my ability to like escape my head, do a cool installation, make it feel like mine, and make it feel so unique. It's like something that I have control over when I didn't have control over so many other things happening to me at the time. Bye, Homeworthy. Thanks for visiting the pumpkin house, and happy Halloween.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.